Hello, my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and we're trying a one shot of Ben Robbins Union. Union is a variation on Microscope. Originally, a version of this was in Microscope Explorer, which is kind of a collection of variants and add-ons that Robbins put out a few years after Microscope. And uh, uh, Robbins then took Union, kind of pulled it out as its own thing, and did some tooling on it. This is a building of a family tree in a very much a microscope style. We'll go through the rules and things, how that works in a moment. The idea is, in terms of our concept, is that we're going to start by telling the story briefly of who the hero is. What was the problem, and how did they solve that problem? And then we're going to work backwards from there. We've got a family tree in a couple of generations, and we're going to look at the history that leads up. And we're going to bounce around like Microscope does across a table of family pairs. So when you go and look in our keeper at the ancestor cards, you'll see that each of those blocks, except for the hero, is a pair of people. And each of them then has a descendant, and I have some lines to connect them to other parts of things. And I'll talk about the mechanics of how that works in a bit. This is a turn-taking game. At the first part, we're going to be very much collaboratively building the setting and the problem and all of those things. And then when we get into sort of the steps of play, we're a little more microscope-like in that each person kind of takes their turn, comes up with their thing, and then the next people build on that. It is like Microscope has a lens, so there's a start player, they set some things, and we go around. But that is the basics of what this is. In terms of tone, I don't know what the tone is going to be. That's one of those things. It always depends on how we are feeling today. We do have some example problems and settings that we can go with. I did put in the keeper some of the seeds that they have to show you kind of what sort of thing can be built on for this, but we'll come back to that. This is, as with everything, a game that is governed by the Open Hearth Code of Conduct, and we're using a layered set of safety tools here. We have at on the safety tab are lines and veils. Please feel free to mark that up as we're going along here. Again, hard lines, things we don't want to even touch on in our history or reference at all. Veil, things that might be mentioned, but obliquely we won't dwell on it. And then ask first. I just want to check in before that topic gets brought up in play. So those are all things there for the lines. That's our baseline. Then we're using, of course, the X card to mark out material that we find problematic, that we find objectionable. Play with y'all before, you know that I always do this and no one does it. But just feel free to say X card. X card is also a chance if we need to stop and kind of recalibrate where we're at in play. Lastly, we do, of course, have the open door policy, which means that should you need to step away for whatever reason, physical, emotional, someone's at the door, feel free to do that. It'd be great if you could tell us that you're going to be back, but you're not required to. As with everything, with all those safety tools, you don't have to explain your choices. You don't have to explain your invocation of them. You are welcome to do that, but you are not required to defend yourself in those cases. Uh, so we are going to play Origin. I've got some box text in the rules that we're going to be playing from, that I'm going to be reading out. We can probably go to the setup tab because that's where we're going to be starting our work here. Uh, I do want to say one thing. It's going to mention in the text. It may get mentioned again. Each of those pairs that leads to a descendant that's not necessarily a biological descendant. It could be a person and a mentor, like how they came together and helped bring up this person or affect them or so on. So it isn't kind of, it can vary as to what the ancestor pairings are. So, what is union? Each of us was created by those who came before us. We are the result of countless unions. Our parents came together and brought us into the world, just as each of them was brought into the world by parents of their own, and so on and so on. Without every single one of our ancestors, we wouldn't be here. In this game, we're going to make a family tree and then jump back and forth across generations to explore the lives that interest us. We may roam around the entire tree or just focus on a few people that capture our imagination. That's up to us. We'll start by deciding how the story ends. We'll create a single descendant who is the result of all these unions, a hero, quote unquote, who confronted some problem facing the family or society as a whole. Then we'll go back and explore the ancestors who created them and the world they lived in. The ancestors we make aren't limited to biological parents or bloodlines. We can choose to create adoptive parents, teachers, mentors, anyone who we think had a unique impact creating the next generation and whose past and legacy we want to explore. As we play, we should live each life like it's the center of our story. The path of each ancestor and how they came together to make the next generation is a tale all its own. Some of these unions may be happy, some sad, some triumphant, some tragic, some long, some terribly brief. But whatever the fate of each ancestor, we already know that the family story will continue. So, uh, I actually want to pop us to the ancestor cards tab briefly. Uh, These are arranged in sort of three columns. You can see that the closest column on the left has four pairs there. That's the great grandparents or the great grandparents generation for our hero. And then we go over one, and that is the grandparents, and then the hero's parents, and then the hero. We're actually going to start to the right by building the hero, but then we're going to bounce around on that family tree.
Just a question. This
Yes.
is always a single generation, like parent, hero, grandparent, great grandparent. It's not like, oh, okay, and then there were four generations passed, and then something interesting happened with this family.
The way it works is because you're looking at the pairing that brought that next set in, it is
Um,
just these four
okay,
generations. Yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah.
Thank you.
So the first thing that we're going to do here, as I go back to the setup, is we're going to pick a problem from the example problems list, or we can make up our own. And this is something that is confronting the family, the community, or the whole world that they live in. This is our kind of touchstone to start with. And uh, so there are a number of those listed there. Uh, Donna, any of those sing to you, or a couple of those sing to you, and we can whittle it down?
Sorry, I was looking at the seeds. I was going
Sorry.
down the
Yeah.
um let me I mean I like exile or tyranny. Those are two jumping out at me.
Okay. Sabine?
Yeah, I like I mean tyranny is always good, right? Maybe also oppression. I mean that goes hand in hand with tyranny, I think. But yeah.
Okay. Will of the exile, tyranny, or oppression, any of those sing to you?
Um, let's go with tyranny. Let's have a bad guy.
Okay. All right. So the problem is tyranny. Uh, and then, Will, I'm going to start with you on this question. They've got some example settings there.
Yeah.
What would you what would you like to play in? Do we want to play in a modern thing? Do we want to play in a fantasy world, a steampunk, supers, something else? What do you think?
I think um, so many options there, isn't there? That's the problem.
Absolutely. Well, and
Yeah,
you can give us a genre, and then we can whittle that down to
yeah. I think I'm gonna go with magic.
okay.
Ooh.
I think that might be like a good starting point to then define what kind of magic.
Okay.
Mm.
So if
Because
we
I don't want to
know,
go fantasy and it'd be like Dungeons and Dragons immediately. I
right.
want to.
So we got a magical world in some form. Sabine, what do you want to add as to narrow it down, to add a detail to that?
I was wondering if this was a fantasy world, like a Hollywood medieval thing, or if this was more like a modern world with more magic instead of tech, like the craft sequence by Max Gladstone, for example,
Hmm.
that has a lot of modern looking stuff, but they're all powered kind of by magic. I don't know if we can if that seemed interesting, but that's what I was thinking about.
Uh, I like the latter of those. I love the craft sequence. I think
Mm,
it's really cool.
yes.
Basically, the idea of a world
Mm,
that looks a little 21st century, and a lot of that's based on magic and dead gods and other
mm.
things. Anything you want to add to that, Donna?
Um, no, I mean I like that. I mean, and maybe this is something we explore and play. Is this like magicians or magical people ruling, or is this magical people being used as tools? I think that could be a really interesting,
Mhm.
question, or maybe it flip-flops, through the ages.
Absolutely.
Oh,
So we've got a question though. Let's figure out, what do we think the problem was of tyranny within this world? Like, what is the trouble that they faced? You know, was it was it a demon overlord? Was it a too powerful mage? Uh, uh, what kind of tyranny do we think we had? Was it institutional tyranny or individual thoughts?
maybe like we had these two, or have the two class system, like the powerful mages who are for whatever reason and the upper caste, and then the others who are like hedge wizards who have magic but are not privy to the full education that they could have to use their powers. That makes sense. Something like
So
that.
class
Yeah. But,
inequality
mhm,
between kinds of mages.
mhm.
Will, Donna, you good with that? Want to add anything to that?
I think I'm good with that. I think though to differentiate that from oppression, right, and for it to be tyranny, perhaps like there's this caste system of magical uh, houses or whatever, right? And like
Mm,
this like all caste systems, there's somebody at the top, right? So like they're the ones who are
mm,
ruling with the iron fist, and everybody else has to be below them, right? As opposed to just the general oppression of you're poor.
Right.
Yeah,
mm.
So class inequality between mages enforced by a caste system of houses.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that gives us the problem, the trouble of our time that we are going to be exploring here.
Yes.
Uh, the next thing that we're going to do is we've got our hero, and we're going to come up with what they did to solve this. We're going to we start at the sort of the back end, uh, and let me. copy the trouble of our time. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come to the ancestry page and put that on the heroes little thing. So what do we think they did to 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 bring down this class inequality? Do you think they destroyed higher tier magic? Did they find a new kind of magic? Did they kill off the leaders of the houses? Did they manipulate things?
It burned the upper house to the ground.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I mean, I almost feel like is that setting up the possibility of a new tyrant? Is that interesting, or we
Oh,
don't get to do the afterwards, right? But
right. Well,
is it something more systematic? Like, I don't know if there are demons or something like this that fuel this higher level of magic. Are they destroying those, or severing the connection between the worlds, or kind of doing
Oh.
something?
Hmm.
Uh,
so burn the upper houses of magic by severing their connection
Mhm.
to their powers.
Yeah, so maybe like now, everyone who can do magic is like a hedge magician, effectively. They don't have that.
Mhm.
I quite like the by severing the connection to hell, like
Okay.
Mhm.
let's go in
Yeah.
there
Oh,
first.
yeah.
Okay. Burn the upper houses of magic by severing their connection to hell. Okay, let's format alignment top. Uh, and so do we think they did it? Did they succeed at this?
Yes,
Like
but.
fully? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, but I'd
Yes,
say.
but so do we think that this is a mixed success or assess a success with consequences? What do we think?
Is this, tore down the gates to hell from the inside, right? So they're trapped there.
Oh,
But yeah,
Ooh.
so the cost for this was pretty massive
Mm.
in this. Uh,
But just to understand this, that means that the hero tore down the gates
yes.
to hell from the inside and sounds trapped in hell, but the cost is personal.
Okay.
I mean, that's a question.
I like that.
Yeah, me too.
I mean that was just the first thing that came to mind. If you talk about a price, uh,
Yeah, I mean, I
happy
like that.
happy to hear from
Yeah.
It's
others.
a very
Tore down the
personal
gate
price.
from the gates from the inside.
Mhm.
So we need to come up with one last thing, three traits for the hero. Uh, at least one trait helped them, and at least one trait hindered them of these. These traits are going to show us how they tackled the problem and maybe some sense of what they might have inherited from their answers, what they might have learned. Uh, uh, so Donna, what's a trait we want for our hero?
Um, Let me think. This be some kind of demon heritage themselves?
Ooh.
Okay. So one of the traits is demonic heritage. Demonic. Okay. Will, what's another trait helpful or hindering for our hero?
Um, I think hot-tempered.
Yeah.
Hot-tempered.
Damn, I was gonna say that.
Okay.
Donna took what I was about to say. Taking it in turn, stealing what the
Okay.
next person's going to say.
Okay, in which case I will go with charismatic.
Okay. Okay. I am going to go to the name generators and I'm going to grab a random, let's see here. Okay. Uh, I'm going to name our hero Radia, she, her. Okay. Uh, just to give us a name uh,
Where
there to,
did you? Oh, you wrote it down on the ancestral
yeah,
tabs, right?
yeah, it's on the end, it's on the hero
Radia.
card.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Okay.
And that's
Ah,
an Arab name, so at least maybe that gives us a
okay,
reference point for
cool.
Middle Eastern Arab names if you want
Mm-hmm.
to fall back to generators.
Ooh.
Uh, all right. Now, uh, the last thing we're going to do in terms of setup here, we're going to pop back to our setup tab. We do get a chance to make our palette. We know what the trouble is. We know what the hero did to confront it, and we know kind of a little bit about the world. Uh, the palette is basically we definitely want to see this, or we don't want to see this. These are less safety tools and more themes or ideas, things we want to lean into, or things we want to move away from. And we'll put this on the palette there in the thing. Uh, so uh, I will start on this. Uh, and this is discussion. This is open for
Mm,
talk.
mm,
Uh, uh,
mm.
I would like everyday demons. That this is a world that has a lot of demons. You know, prior to the gates of hell being torn down, there were demons around. There was demonic influences, that kind of thing. I think that kind of given what we have, I'd like to see that.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, Sabine, what else should we add or subtract?
Oh, okay. I was thinking about the demons now, but I'll leave it where it is. And what should we add or subtract? I think we should have some luxury magic items and some everyday magic items. Like everyday magic items are a bit crappy, but magic items are a thing. Everybody has something, right?
Absolutely. I like that. Will?
Um, Magitech
Okay.
in whatever form that takes. But what's the point in having a world of slightly magical and modernistic themes without
Yeah.
some steampunky atmosphere going on as well?
Absolutely. Ether scopes and
Mm.
transports and all of that kind of thing. Donna, anything you want to add or ban?
Um, I mean, I think I would like to see the kind of corruption of power here, or at least the promise of power. So maybe the way these echelons of houses keep their lowers in check.
Okay. Corruption through the promise of power. And we go around, and you can feel free to add something or not as we go through. I think what I would like to try and for a ban is sort of the uh, uh, avoid the sort of Catholic Christian parallelism, like whatever sort of demons and religious stuff we have, it isn't the classic like, oh, here's a bunch of priests and here's our pope and all of that kind of stuff uh, uh, going on. Um, uh, Sabine, something else you'd like to add or ban or pass?
I think I want to have magical creatures
Okay.
as something that is a regular occurrence in this world. Whatever happened to them when the demon gates closed, but I guess that's not the point of the story.
Okay. Will, anything else for the palette?
I think I would like to avoid prophecy.
Okay. No prophecies, no chosen ones, that kind of
We're
thing.
supposed to be the chosen one. I mean, what I suppose what I would like to define that a bit more. I don't think it matters so much if people might believe that they're prophecy, but given this is a magical world, I don't want there to be actual prophecies. Like if someone can be an idiot and just well, an idiot. You know what I mean? They can be like, "You were supposed to be the chosen one of House Meredith," and it's like, well, you're an idiot because that magic doesn't exist.
Okay. So no actual fate controlling prophecy. Donna?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think this kind of overlaps a little bit with Will. I mean, I don't want the kind of normal people in this world to be like superstitious or backward in any way. Like they live in this world and they have to maybe keep their head down and hope no one notices them and just get on with their lives, right? Um, so I don't know what that is.
So not excessively superstitious, uh, except for what's actually to be worried about. So we're not superstitious, but if we have a world where they have that you have to put out milk for the fairies or they eat your children,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
do that because it makes sense kind of thing.
Yeah, this is like an everyday precaution that actually has an effect because there are demons and magicians in the
Mm,
world,
Right.
right?
mm,
They have inspectors to make sure you've got your magic grounded, they come in and check it.
yeah.
I
And,
like
and
that.
and you can even be persecuted for child neglect if you don't put out the milk for the
Yes.
fairies, right?
Um, I don't think I have anything else to add, but I want to go back and check through. Sabine, anything else you'd like to add to this?
I want weird laws. Now that to piggyback on the whole no superstition, but there should be some laws that are to us weird, to the people in this world. It's just Tuesday, right?
Weird laws, just Tuesday. Will?
um, I think no, no non-human races.
Okay. Besides the demons.
Demons. I mean, no elves or dwarves or like, fish people or whatever.
Did you just say Swiss people, or did I miss?
Fish people.
Fish
Fish
people.
people. Okay, okay.
They knew what they
That,
did.
that makes more sense.
Yeah, everything suddenly makes sense.
Yes. Dada?
No, I think I'm happy with that. I
Okay.
think nothing to add.
Sabine?
Yeah, I could invent a dozen more things, but
Okay.
that wouldn't make it better. So
Will? Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. We're going to pop now to the ancestor cards. I'm going to hide the ancestor cards V2 table. Let me hide that sheet. So we've got the regular ancestor card sheet. If we look at each of these, and I want to start at sort of A1. So you can see that's a block, but that's our great grandparents.
mhm.
You'll see that each of those is a union. On in each of those, there are two ancestors. So we have a name, and then we'll have potentially some details below them for a person that's on the left and a person that's on the right. And uh, so that tells us what that is. In the middle is the union there. That's the first part of the relationship when they came together and created their offspring. We're going to say something about what that union looked like. And then underneath that, that bottom middle section is the fate. That's how the ancestors' lives turned out after they had their offspring. And then you can see that if you look at that block, that top one, there's a blue line. It goes over there to a G7 on the sheet, and that is their offspring. That's who they'll be connected with down one generation. So we're going to be building those things up. You'll notice that the names and terms there, name, fate, union, all of those things, some of them are in white with black letters, and then the other way around. That is how we're going to signal when we've kind of got them in place, when we've determined some traits or gotten some details about them, whether we think things were good for them or things were bad, whether they were light or dark. So if we have the white background, we indicate fairly positive person or positive outcome. Uh, dark background will indicate a more negative background. But we'll stop and look at that. So that's our setup. And so now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going around and doing our turns to create things on this. I'll go ahead and I will be first lens who will set the things for this first one. So what we do right now before we get into the turns is each of us is going to create an ancestor. We're going to go around the table. This is sort of a free play, get an ancestor here. And we'll pick an empty slot with a name. You can either the left or right side, you ignore the middle side. Describe who they are and summarize their life before they met their partner, before they had their offspring. Kind of avoid talking about other ancestors. And then the lighter dark there is if we think they early life was happy or sad. So that is that. So I'm going to uh, go to a grandparent just because I like kind of dropping it here in the middle. And I'm going to go here. So uh, this is Arshad. Uh, I think this is a uh, grandparent of our hero. And I've misspelled bindings, but that's what I meant to say. They are a magical artificer. I think they are one of those hedge mages who is kind of looked down upon because they're purely sort of craft focused. And they had a particularly dark upbringing and time because they were apprenticed to be one of those people whose job is just to make chains and bindings and things, both for demons and for people.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, Donna, you are going to be player two. So I'll have you add an ancestor anywhere you want.
Okay. I will go as far back as I dare and create someone called Rifa. And I think I will make them a free demon. Maybe this is uh, seeing as I came up with demonic heritage, I better plant that seed.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I think, yeah, a free demon gives us a lot of scope as to what exactly that means, and I'm not sure what their fate is, but
Sure.
yeah.
Where do you want to put them?
So I put them in the great grandparents in the fourth pairing down at the
Okay.
bottom.
And you've chosen dark for that.
Yeah, yeah, I think that seems almost inevitable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Sabine, you're player three, so I'll have you put an ancestor.
Okay, okay. I will take this one, which is Arshad's parent, I think.
Okay.
And his name is Razul, and he's a highwayman, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds horrible, but you gotta make a living, right? And as a highwayman, if you're careful enough and lucky enough, and happily enough, Razul was a lucky highwayman,
Okay.
at least in the beginning, until whatever happened was, yeah.
So fairly positive outlook. We
Mm.
leave that on the
Yeah,
light side of things.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then Will.
Do I have to choose a box like a generation that's not got anyone in, or can I
Yeah,
choose?
choose an empty box, but it can
Yeah,
be on the same line. Like you could do Rasul's partner at this point.
I might do Rasul's partner. I
Okay.
think Rasul's partner is Jamila. I think that Jamila is, you know what, let's go with a cliche. She is, I was going to go with sheriff, but then I'm wondering if slave catcher might be interesting as well. You know what, slave catcher.
Okay. We've got that on the uh, veil, so we won't dwell on it, but I think it's reasonable to have it on there.
Yeah, yeah. To clarify, when I say slave catcher, I'm thinking of like the early American police to a great extent.
Okay.
Pinkerton.
Uh,
Pinkertons. Yeah.
and dark there for that. All right. Uh, so now we know a lot more about the world. We've got a first peek of the ancestors, but there's a bunch more to explore. We'll continue to explore all these lives and discover about them. Each round, one player will choose a particular union to focus on, and then we'll take turns creating ancestors, describing their lives, and adding more detail to what we already know. We can narrate stories, we can rope, which is what we're going to do. This is a game like Microscope where if we wanted to, we could drill down into scenes. We're not going to do that. We're just going to add details for that. Uh, because we're building on each other's ideas, but take turns contributing individually, you might be surprised at what another player makes. You might have had a very different idea about how a particular pair of ancestors got together or what someone's childhood was like. That surprise is all part of the game. Once something's established, it's our job to embrace it and run with it. We already know how the stories end, so learning how we got there and why it happened and being surprised by what we find out along the way is part of the game. Uh, so I don't know how long a turn takes. So I am going to take our break here. We'll take like 8 minutes for this first break. We'll come back and then I'll start the turn sequence, and that'll give us a sense of how long this takes.
That's good. Just a heads up that I just ordered some takeaway, so at some point I will get a buzz on my phone and have to leave for 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Got it. So I'm the lens, means I'm sort of first chair here. The player to my left is the next player to go, which in this case, Donna is player 2. Player to my right, if we were playing at the table, would be the previous player, so to be Will. Will is sort of number 4. What we'll do as your the lens is you're going to pick one ancestor card. So one of these pairings. And that's the one all of us are going to work on for this round. And you can add to the family history by choosing one of the 2 people on either side. Once they're there and they're established, you can talk about what the union was, like how did they meet, what happened, how did they come together, and then the fate is sort of what happened ultimately to that pairing. Was there a split? Did they live happily ever after? That kind of thing. So on each of those cards, there are 4 things. And then the 5th thing is the ancestor, the child of that pairing directly. So if we're looking at, and I'm going to start with the pairing that's at A1, it's the child that's at G6, the blue line goes to. So that's 5 things that you can go to. If something is already filled in, you can still add things to it. You can add more details. You can frame it up, tell a little bit more about the story on that. Once we've done that, once around for all of us, the lens will go again, and then the person who is seated to the right of the lens is going to pick a legacy, and I'll talk about what that means when we get to that. So I'm going to start here up at the top at A1. Gonna keep my caps lock on apparently. So this character on one side is named Zirthane the Writ, and I think he is amongst the great houses, and he is a demon ascender. What they know how to do is both to bring demons up from hell, but also how to fuse demons together to make them stronger. Uh, uh, Doing that for mages or for demons, like that's an art that he has, and I think that he's on the light side because he has grown up in the lap of luxury, has had a good life at least prior to the union. I'm actually going to put the pronouns here in the parentheses. He, him, and we'll go wrapping on that. So next player is Donna, and you'll go.
And I can pick any one of those 4 other aspects to this card, right?
So you don't want to do the union or the fate until the 2 ancestors are done.
Yeah.
So right now
Okay.
you could do the 2 ancestors or their offspring.
Okay. So I think I'll do the other ancestor, I guess, and I think I will have someone called Nura. I think she is a philosopher. maybe there is, you know, an ivory tower academic or something like this,
Hmm.
literally. Um, but I wonder if this is something like uh, demagogue is the wrong word for it, but someone who is like starting to deconstruct this world in terms of what it means for everyone else.
Uh,
Subversive? Subversive is maybe the wrong word as well, actually, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah,
critic,
yeah.
uh, philosopher critic. Uh,
Um, I mean, is it even like an anonymous firebrand? Is it, or is it? Do you think it's open?
it's up to you.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I like there being like a maybe a secret um aspect to this.
Okay.
So I'll put in an anonymous firebrand. Um, so maybe in this relationship with Zerthan, it's quite cordial, but her true feelings are otherwise about what he does.
Uh, and then Sabine.
Okay, so I think I will, for now, go with the offspring.
Okay.
And I think his name is Hydron. And Hydron is I mean, Hydron is a kind of rich kid who was a slummet, a little empty-headed, maybe a little vacuous, but for the first part of his life, he was a pretty happy little dude, not more naive than actually more naive but oblivious.
Okay.
And I need to switch up the give me here.
Sure.
I will have to. I think I'm going with the happy guys
Okay.
or gals. What
And
was it as that? Oblivious but naive. Naive but oblivious, yes.
yeah.
Artie Percy for now.
I
Curious to
love
see how these two get together.
it. We come to you, Will. Uh, and at this point, you could add in the union if you wanted. You could add a detail to previous things that have been touched.
Okay. Um, I'm going to put an extra detail into Jamila, the slave catcher. Uh,
Well, we're actually working on that pairing of now Zerthane, Nora, and their child. So that's our lens right
I
now.
see. So it has to connect to that. I see.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was thinking of it in terms of like periods rather than
Oh yeah,
pairing.
yeah.
Cool. Okay. Then let us do something about the union, or their fate. Is that the two things that I can describe now?
Yeah.
So the union is about their pairing, right?
Union
Uh,
is uh like uh it described their early life before they like sorry, union is how they met, came together and came to have an offspring. And then
mm,
fate is how their lives turned out after they had their offspring.
right. So I'll go with the shad and hydran.
But we are working on the Zyrthane Rit.
Oh,
Yeah. So we do their pairing, which is basically those four things, and the fifth thing that we can do is their offspring.
okay. I'm just confused because I thought on the last turn we filled in their offspring.
Basically, at this point, we choose one of those pairings,
Yeah,
and we can add a detail to either person on either side. We can put the union in once we know who the two people are. We can put their
yeah.
fate, or we can talk about their child.
I see. I see. Cool. Okay. Anyway, the union will be an political marriage.
Like a happy political marriage or an unhappy political marriage, light or dark.
Oh, well, oh yeah, I get to choose those light or dark. I think it's going to start off as dark, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay, so we'll turn that union thing. Okay, yeah, either way we can do that. All right, I'll like that. Uh, and then it comes back to me
I
to
suppose it depends whether or not any extra details added to the union will be dark or like, is it the
oh,
detail?
so basically what you do is you say that union is dark, and we can add extra details. It's the sort of the general tone of that instance.
And I'm going to go with dark.
Okay. Uh, and it comes back to me, and I'm actually going to say, uh, uh, I want to say for this that uh, when the two of them got together, that they actually found common ground. And while Zerthane might have been sort of a power-hungry mage before, and Nora a firebrand before, that after they had the child, despite that turbulence of their union, they ended up actually uh, finding a relatively good life, and unfortunately, then spoiling their child. I think is pretty clearly what went on there. Uh, and so that's the focus. One of the things is that one of the goals of that lens when they come back around to do a second sort of bite at the apple is they can close off any loose ends, they can add on to things. Um, uh, Now, Will would have the legacy at this point, and basically that's saying something about how one of the traits that the hero got, or something about the history and the trouble, like what this particular union says about that. But we'll come back on that. Uh, we go to player two, Donna. You become the lens and pick a pairing.
Yeah, and let's say I were to pick the Rasul Jamila one, right?
Hmm.
That three of those aspects are already chosen. So like when we if we do that, do we just add additional details to each of those five
Exactly.
aspects? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay. Um, yeah, let me
question.
Yes,
Yep.
If you were to put Razul and Jamila, you could say things about Arshad, but not about Arshad's union with Hydra, just to
correct.
be clear. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you. Mhm.
I mean, while we're mentioning them, we may as well. I am guessing Rasul is he, him. We'll just fill in
Oh, good
some
point. Yeah.
details. Yeah. And Jamila, she, her. That's just based on my name recognition and not anything else. Is
Right.
that right?
Sure.
Okay. Um, so let's go with them. And I think Rasul is like a legendary highwayman, you know, kind of a Robin Hood figure. Um, yeah, that's so not just a regular highwayman who is scraping to get by. I think whoever had um uh started with Rasul said something like lucky, so I'm kind of leaning into that.
Okay. I like it. And then Sabine.
Um, okay, so Jamila's a slave catcher, and I'm saying something about the union. I think this was a bit helter-skelter, right? Like they met and it made boom, and there was this instant attraction, and whatever happens next don't matter. This is just a whirlwind love affair before they even knew who each other was, and then they were head over heels, right?
Okay. I
And I
like
think
that.
this was at least at the beginning, it was pretty happy. I will make a dark one eventually.
Okay. So, Will, uh, we are on the pairing of Rasul and Jamila.
Okay. Um, and their offspring was Arshad, I
Yep.
see. Yeah. Uh, um, a whirlwind love affair, legendary Robin Hood figure. Kind of put Jamila detail is that she was from the highest house, enforcer of the highest house, like part of it. It's not just an employee kind of thing.
Okay. Uh, I'm going to say that Arshad uh, uh, learned. We've established that they're kind of on a lower house, so something clearly happened that put them down below. But I think that they learned their binding arts from Mother Jamila. I like the idea that these were magics that were not supposed to get out of the house, and Arshad has them uh, uh, because of this sort of descent. Uh, Donna, we come back to you.
I guess we were promised a dark fate, right? I yeah, I think maybe Jamila is forced or maneuvered into executing Razul for his
Oof.
crimes. Um, and promised that this would save the house's dignity, but obviously promises weren't kept.
Okay. So that that ends your lens. So I'm the player to your right. So now I say something about this. Uh, I think that we've established the problem with the class structure, and I think that this this fall of Rasul and Jamila, I think precipitated a lot more tension. Like that was one of the incidents. Like Rasul was one of those bandits that people wrote broadsheets about and books and things like that was legendary and hugely popular. And Jamila came from a very respected family that had, a sense of honor and decorum, and their romance, gripped the public's imagination. And then when Jamila was forced to execute Rasul, and then was betrayed by her family, like people took sides on that. And there was a lot of anger bubbling out from below, and people from the great houses uh, forced to push back harder on people who spoke up. I think that created tension. So in some ways, Arshad and Jamila kind of being thrown down into the hedge mage circles made them a cause for other people eventually. And that's what the legacy does, is the legacy takes that to talk about the history or takes something that happened there to talk about one of the traits of the hero. Uh,
Are the
so,
legacies captured anywhere on the sheet?
uh, it doesn't show on the thing that there would be a card for that, so I hadn't put a space. If I were a better note taker, I would have written all that down. Uh, Will, did you want to say anything for your legacy turn about Zerthane and Nora's union?
Oh yeah, I apologize for that.
No, that's okay. That's why I wanted to kind of give
Yeah,
you a shot.
Zethane and Nora um, set aside their individual fascinations and strident goals. I think uh, that Nora continued to write her anonymous firebrand anonymously, but committed to keeping to staying anonymous. You know, never reached that point of taking the mask off and openly speaking, and largely seemed to retire from life. Uh, the philosopher life, treading a very safe political path with Zerthane, but secretly her writings continued and spread amongst the lower classes.
Various treaties and things written about who people think that the Anon was, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Excellent.
Some say
Uh,
that it could have been a highwayman. You know.
yeah. Uh, Sabine, you are the lens. You pick one of the pairings here.
Okay, so I think I am going right down to the last one, Rifa, the free demon, and their yet unnamed partner, which I think that's what I'm supposed to now set this up and and name them, right? Tell their stories. No. Yeah. Okay. So I would want to explore this one. Like we only have Rifa
Yeah.
and
Right now,
someone
as a
else.
choice, you could
Mm,
add the unnamed person,
yeah.
you could add
All
a
right.
deal to Rifa, or you
Yeah.
could name the offspring.
Okay, cool. I think I will name the partner. And I think the partner is who's your partner, Rifa? I think the partner is yes. No, I need a name. Let me think for a moment about this. Ah, yes. His name is Omani, or their name. Yes. I'm going with they, them. Because they don't have time for gender. They're a scientist. They're a science nerd, actually.
Okay.
Like a magic science nerd, obviously. And they have they're yeah, they have a lot of thoughts. And I'm all get ready. I'm again with a happy one. I think I think Omani is at least for now is happy to sit in whatever kind of laboratory they have, and I don't think it's much actually. They might be like they're not from a rich they're not from a highborn family, but they are really good at what they're doing, right? So they have some sort of laboratory. They're maybe have a patron that they think that likes them. Who knows? Yes. I think poor but brilliant student is what I'm going with.
Okay. Poor upbringing student, but dedicated laboratory magitech.
Mhm. Yes. Okay. There we go.
Okay.
Magic tech. I should learn to spell that.
Uh, Will.
Okay, I just inhaled my burger, so I'm back. God, I needed that. Right, so we are on
Amani and Rifa.
Amani and Rifa, poor but brilliant student and a free demon. Um, I think the union was a secret tryst for, you know, Rifa's identity, true origin never revealed. I think that maybe Omani didn't even know that Rifa was a free demon.
Okay. Is that a happy thing or a dark thing?
I think, you know, if you were to take an objective look, it might be dark, but I think that actually we're both happy, so it's happy. You know,
Okay.
I'm gonna put it as light.
I think what I want to say is that for my thing, I think that I think that uh, one of the things is that there are things in place to kind of prevent the whole like demons having children with humans, and that usually when that happens, those children either become demons or become human. Like it goes one way or the other, and so this was not a thing that was supposed to be. Uh, Donna?
I think I will detail the offspring, the kind of impossible, half demon, half human offspring. Um, uh,
Demon fluid.
yeah. But I think I'll just write that in. Impossible offspring. But I think the detail I want to add here is something like an inventor, so very much in following her father's or Amani's footsteps. Um, uh, I have an idea for an invention, but I don't know if I should add it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's something like something kind of impossible for someone who is not demonic themselves to invent, but something like, like some kind of communication device, like a scream sheet, if I'm thinking cyberpunk, something that allows for really rapid dissemination of like a magical printing press on demand, right? Um,
I like that.
um, and obviously, does it get out of hand? Inevitably, that's what these things do, right?
Like the equivalent of an AI magical printing press kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, I mean, demon powered. What could possibly go wrong,
Uh,
Maybe there's, demonic hallucinations writing these things all by themselves, or maybe it just allows for the wrong information to get out. Who knows?
uh, Sabine, uh, we'll come back to you. Get one more to add to this.
I can add the fate, right? How this
Yeah.
comes out. And I think it doesn't go too well. I think Rifa gets noticed and to protect her child, she has to give her freedom up, so that the child will remain safe with her parent, Omani. And I think that will break Omani.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, they're just they all they will talk about is Magitech with the child,
Hmm.
which informs what the child turns out. Still has a happy childhood, but yeah, still maybe on the occasion Rifa will be able to look at the child from a distance, right? And of course, the child needs to stay hidden because as a child, it's hard to hide that heritage.
Hmm.
Okay.
All right. Wrapping.
Oh.
Uh, so Donna, we flip back to you to talk about a legacy.
And I think this one seems pretty obvious that, the genie is out of the bottle, so to speak, right? This uh, you know, magical or natural law which prevents a half demon offspring, is broken, at least for this line, right?
Hmm.
So it's a one-off perhaps, but um, you know, worrying for the authorities, you
Yeah,
know.
the blood is out there. Excellent. Uh, Will,
So,
you get to choose. You are now the lens. You get to choose one of these pairings.
hmm. Well, I see that we've got a pairing that has no details in, two pairings that have no details in whatsoever.
Hmm.
Yep. Mhm.
We should start with one of those, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Although maybe it'd be more interesting to do the bit in the middle that links them both, right? Then the wall central section
Hmm.
then creates the bit that goes on from there, doesn't it?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
let us do that. Let's go
Mhm.
with the wall. Let's flesh out that bit in the middle and then see.
Okay.
I love Ben Robbins games because you're always just like, huh, you could do it this way, or you could go from the other side, or whatever, right? And just because they were default set up as light and dark, right? I can change those to go, for
Absolutely.
example, right? Okay, well, you know what? This is going to be the golden generation where, well, not necessarily, but both people have light. It could be horribly dark for their pairing and their union and their fate, right? But it's going to start off as good for both of them. So now all impossible offspring, inventor of the magical printing press, and uh, oh, let me look up the genie names. Uh, Yeah, I found out the genie names basically has enough of that Middle Eastern thing, but with a little bit of like fantastical added to it to make it slightly less just like that's Mohammed down the road.
Yes.
So Shashid, I think. No, Zostish, there's a name and a half. Zostish. Uh, Zostish, the I think that Zostish is uh, scion of you know what? I'm just going to put banking magnate,
Mhm.
and he's very wealthy, very very wealthy. Has
Eh,
fallen in love with this. Well, not fallen in love. Has unioned with this impossible offspring of Enter the Magical Press.
uh, I think that I want to say that Nostish is uh, uh, Nostish is remarkably philanthropic. That's not a thing that the houses do. That's never been a cultural trait. Like the houses don't feel obligated to provide. There very much is magic keeps us in power. We have the divine right of magic, the Dukes of Hell have anointed us, that kind of thing. But Zostis is one of those people who uh, starts making philanthropy and donations and things attempting to make it a status symbol. Then and I think there are people that don't like that. Donna,
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if this union is not like isn't producing a biological offspring, but is in fact producing, some kind of new way of thought in the world. So this union is in fact kind of a business arrangement. Zostish sees this immense potential for this device that Nawal maybe doesn't see, who's just like inventing cool shit. Um, so I guess a union of ideas and application or whatever. Does that make sense?
yeah, Sabine,
Oh, I'm curious about their offspring now. I think it's, as we said, probably not a biological child, but more like, um, I think maybe, oh, maybe Zoster's younger um, sibling who was tutored by both of them and who felt a lot of pressure, I think, in her life. Like there were a lot of expectations. And also, I mean, her father was such a philanthropic person, but there was a lot of hate, so she had to be sequestered a little just to stop people from getting to her, right? So she grew up more isolated than she wanted to be. And also, she was mostly, oh no, we need the demonic heritage to be preserved. But that, yeah, I think maybe there was an accident that infused her with Nawal's demonic heritage.
Okay.
And that was she was not used to that. I think that is not. I wanted to make a dark one, and this is one. And I think I will. What will we call you now? Oh yes, I will call you Muhtaram. This is an actual name, but I still like it. She's the, the project, I guess. Yeah.
Like a sort of homunculus kind of thing.
Who is
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Oh, it's the younger sibling.
Oh, that's yeah. No, maybe, but I like the homunculus idea so much better. Maybe she's an invention, sort of
Yeah, I
like.
mean, like it could be through like slightly conventional means, right? But that's,
Mm,
like what they were going for, kind of thing. Like an
yeah,
a project, like you say, like
yeah. Oh, maybe Muhtaram is Sostish's younger sister, but there was some kind of accident, probably Nawal's fault actually, and then she had to be infused with the demonic power to just make her live and yeah, remain reasonably intact. Infused with demonic energy. Entrance. That does not look pretty. Nee.
sorry, I jumped in a bit.
I think you shouldn't both try to format the whole thing. Okay, yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Uh, and then we'll come back to you.
um, the fate of the Union. Um, the fate of the Union. So far they've all been dark. And you know what? Dostish and Narwhal are going to have a decent fate as well.
Okay.
Um, purely by the fortune of being the first people for me to notice that we've had a pattern of whatever the boxes were in the first place is what we've. So the good fate is uh, transformed uh, daily life and industry with their uh, inventions, basically. You know,
Okay.
like these are the sort of the people who, whatever the modern world is, it's like traced back to the Zostish's bankrolling of Narwhal's incredible inventions, transformed, from whatever slightly more ritualistic and basic versions of it before. But anyway, that's me going into the legacy, isn't it? I apologize. I shouldn't.
That's okay. Uh, so Sabine, you do get to do the legacy for this one.
Okay.
Uh,
I think the legacy is again it will go not just to the demonic heritage of Radia, but also to the charismatic bit. But because I think Zostish is her grandfather, and I think he had a bit of charisma about him. Maybe the younger sister would have as well if she hadn't been transformed. But the demonic heritage comes clearly from this instance from her mother. Yeah.
I like it.
Mhm.
It comes back to me as the lens. Uh, I'm actually going to uh, pick for my lens. I want to go back. I want to look at the Omani Rifa thing a little bit more so we can add details to that. Uh, uh, I I want to say too that with Omani, uh, didn't realize like Omani ended up, it was a scientist, ended up, uh, uh, I want to say, sort of mentoring Nawal, training them and stuff, like taking care of them. Uh, uh, Rifa kind of manipulated things that way. And it wasn't until, later, well after he was grieving for Rifa that he came to a realization that Nawal was his child. So I think there is that weird tension there. Donna, you're muted.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I wonder if Rifa had been freed specifically to like test the bounds of this, ancient law to
Ooh,
see if she could break it.
I think that's great.
Okay.
Uh, and then Sabine.
Yeah, I think maybe building up on that, if Rifa had been somebody had freed Rifa, maybe she was actually sort of sent to Amani because Amani was working on figuring out what the boundaries of hell were, how the gates of hell actually worked, and the laws that bound the demons, stuff like that. More the highly theoretical, CERN like magic, tech, science stuff, and that might have been why somebody pointed Ria in their into their lab, and then it became a tryst because maybe Omani was a little let's say head in the clouds, and yeah, somehow had to bring them down a little to a more more personal level, I guess. And yeah.
Yeah. And then
We
Will.
need more lights.
Um, I think that uh, But Reef, uh, in the Fate, uh, Omani was Omani's inventions, Omani's his theories drew the attention of the High House,
Mm.
who, who bonded him. So they, you know, he's these groundbreaking high concept demonic theories that the High House is, and they saw that as their property, and as Omani was a lower caste than them, they had the power to essentially take Omani from, dictate his life from that point on.
I like
And
it.
perhaps that of his offspring, who knows?
Uh, I want to add on to Nawal, who's the offspring. I want to say that hmm, that we have this printing press that was made that kind of does this wild stuff that Nawal invented. Uh, but I think that one of the things we talked about, it, maybe doing sort of AI style hallucinations, but I think that there are bits and pieces of truth there. And I think that one of the outgrowths of that has been over time is the creation of a new musical magical language, a
Mm.
a language that is doing something more powerful than conventional hedge magic, but isn't
Mm.
high level magic.
Mm. Nice.
Uh, and then Will, you get the legacy on this one.
Legacy. Uh, um, I think it's that Omani's theories solidified the power of the High House, uh,
Oh.
allowing them even greater authority and control, and making the punishments that they wielded ever more terrible.
Oof.
Yeah, well, I was like, oh, this is what I was like, oh yeah, tyranny. We need to.
Yeah.
Problem.
Awesome. Donna.
So a new card, huh?
Yep.
Let's go back to our third great grandparent card, the one that has no details in it.
Uh, Zostitious.
Yeah, and let me just break the pattern by immediately making the black one white.
Uh,
So we give ourselves some options. Um, so I think this is going to be Yashai, who is I'll put simple in quotation marks, a caravan master, maybe
Mm.
someone who starts out, with some significant seed money, but makes it greater, right? Maybe there's a self-made myth going on here,
hmm,
but
I like it. Sabine?
Yeah. I think the other one is Suhaila, and Suhaila is a high-level courtesan. She is attached to one of the great houses. It's not a member per se, but she was, at least at the beginning, she was a courtesan of one of the high houses, and there she learned how to be a very good manipulator of things, and fortunes. I don't think Sohaila had a very happy life though. I'm gonna switch this one up. And I don't know how to do it any other way. And also I forgot to write in all caps.
It's okay.
Okay.
And then Will.
We're in the Suhaila
Yep.
Yishai. Yep. Self-made caravan master, high level. Um, uh, I'm gonna go with a white union, like a light one. I think love at first sight. Uh, they just,
Hmm.
uh, I think that yeah, they just but uh, love at first sight. There are many obstacles. Her being a high level courtesan attached to a house, the impropriety of the caste system, etc. Between a self-made caravan master and a high-level courtesan, there's going to be all kinds of complicated politics at work there, right? But you know, they just fell in love and they worked. Well, we'll see how successful that paid off,
Yes.
of course, but they were hopeful.
So I think that I'm gonna word wrap on this. Um, that Uzziah is a self-made caravan master, but I think that there is a secret past to him, that he comes from a long line of mage assassins, and at a very young age, he was was doing the assassinations, and essentially, there's a certain number that you can do before you're granted your freedom from the house, and he did it at a very young age, and walked away with a good deal of money, and uh, paid for a new identity in life for himself. Donna, we're back to you.
Um, uh, I can't destroy this with a dark fate. This is we'll resolve some other dark fates, I'm sure. I think maybe a powerful house came after these these people, and that worked about as well as you could when you have mage assassin, you know. And I think that house was basically completely destroyed and absorbed, and this is really what brought them to the next level. Um,
Uh, so I do the legacy on this one, right? Yeah. So I like the idea that one of the ways that mages work, we talked about demons and associated and their connection to hell, is that they bind to particular demons, demons that are out here and demons that are in hell and so on. And one of the ways that mage assassins kill mages is not going for the mages, but actually going and killing those demons, either in the real world or going down into hell where they think they're safe and killing them. And I think the legacy is like those are the secrets that our hero like inherited to know how to go down into hell and break the gates of hell. Uh, Sabine,
I get to pick something. Okay,
yes.
okay. Ooh. I mean, we don't have the partner of the mother yet, but I think I'm more curious about Arshad and Hydran because I mean we have the bound artificer and we have the naive but oblivious party person whose parents are super opposite but super happy anyway.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm curious about these two.
Okay.
And also, of course, we if we look at them, we will get the missing parent, but you know what? And I want to say that, huh, okay, how did these two people meet? I think they met when Arshad was making the break, right, for his freedom. He was going to leave his bindings and then run away, basically break the bonds that held him there because he was good at binding, and then just leave, just go missing, just and while that was going on, and he stuff went wrong, obviously, because it usually does, and he suddenly found himself at a party, and he thought he would be like, oh my god, all these important good looking people, what am I gonna do? I'm totally gonna stick out here like a sore thumb. But then Hydran discovered him and was like, oh, you look like you're in trouble, but you are now my +1. And nobody gets close to you because I am super important. I'm the son of Cersei the Brit, and you don't want to mess with him, right? And that's how they met. And there was, I think, Arshad hated Hydran at first sight, like, but they had this whole thing where Arshad just got mellowed out by Hydran's optimism. So, yeah, going into this young adult novels
Absolutely.
thing.
Uh, I love it. Will.
Shard and Dran.
Mhm.
Um, well, he's naive but oblivious, and he's a party person, so I think he's going to be, you know, trying to think what the right term, but basically he's like, you know, a high member of the high house, but like has to do nothing to do anything. You know, like the second son, the first son, etc. They have obligations. Hydran's like just gets to do what he likes. Socialites. progeny of the high house. So, Arshad has found comfort in the home of someone who's very close to the seat of power, even if he's absolutely oblivious to what that means.
Uh, how am I going to put this in a way that doesn't sound too creepy? Um, uh, so I think at first that there was a real kind of adversarial relationship between Arshad and Hadrian, and maybe even a little bit of Arshad kind of falling back to his bindings. And I think there's a little bit of, if we were doing this as a not even, I don't know, I don't want to say 50 Shades of Gray, but a kind of a weird sort of balance of power there that eventually comes to like both of them kind of realizing that the bindings that they're involved with are both physical and their own emotions. And I think that over time makes Arshad like start to come to terms with his own heritage, with what he learned from his mother and the things that he did, and start to hate himself less over the course of this. But I think it's definitely I think it's a 3 volume series before we get to, Arshad coming to terms with that. Uh, Donna?
Yeah, I wonder if this kind of life of living a lie kind of grinds both of them down a little bit. This is um maybe not, literally destructive, but kind of wears them down over the years. And, you know, whoever their offspring is, you know, uh, maybe doesn't get to see this, but yeah, maybe not the worst dark fate that we can
Right.
imagine, but yeah.
Sabine? Get one
Uh,
more on this.
I'm supposed to tie this together, right? Or do I just get to make the offspring now?
It's whatever you want to do. You can add to any of the
Okay,
things. You
okay,
could make the
okay.
offspring, whatever you want to do.
Oh, okay, okay. I think I want to make the offspring now.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I was I was in the wrong mindset for a name right now. That was not. Let me think about this. Yes, I think his name is Reza, and he goes by he or they. Because he's a little contrarian, right? So he's kind of the child of these two people who are, well, I mean, one of them is a progeny, and the other one is kind of this weird, broody guy. And yeah, and I think Reza is loved by Hiram, obviously, kind of, but he really, really wants to gain the approval of Arshad because that's how this works, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think what Reza does is to train himself to also learn about this binding stuff and all these things. And yeah. So he wants to do the forbidden things, right? The edgy things,
Hmm.
because that he thinks will get him the approval of Arshad.
Excellent.
And our shot approves it for him. No question there. He just can't show it.
In that classic way.
Yeah, I mean, he's a broody boy. What can you do?
And then Donna will have you give us a legacy from that.
I mean, is this the kind of hot-tempered nature coming through? This is, the damn it, I'll do it anyway. What are, what is the damn the torpedoes straight
Mm-hmm.
ahead kind of thing. Um, I guess a general, l- you know, m- lack of consideration of repercussions.
I like it. Uh, Will, you're going to do the last turn for us.
Should probably go with Razor and Maternum, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Uh, I am the lens, right? That's what you mean
Yep.
by cool, yeah. I feel like it's just my turn to fill in one of these things, and
Oh,
I should go with this one that we're supposed to be doing. The Union of the Fate desperately wants our shirts, dishes. How is this class inequality between kinds of mages, the caste system? What about Radia's background brings her into this tyranny? Um, God, suddenly it feels like there's pressure on this round. You know what I mean? Like previous rounds, it was like, oh, there's all this canvas to fill in, and now it's
yeah.
like,
We
no,
can
there's
always add details on to people we've already got
yeah, yeah.
established there among them.
Um, you know what? Zostish's younger sister is magic across the caste lines.
And I want to say uh, that I think that eventually great houses realized that both Hiram and Reza were, how do I want to put this, apostates, tates, uh, uh, forbidden, and were killed. Think that at a certain point, uh, the heritage and from the binders and the great houses and all of that, and then the demon blood, those things like that, all put a target on them, and the great houses ordered them killed. Donna?
Yeah, I mean, this is happy only in comparison to that, lol. So, um, I wonder if they met in prison, for other crimes, not quite so serious. And I think it's maybe one of those work together and realize they were kind of kindred spirits, and then use their gifts to escape, and kind of one of those action movie romances, right?
Hmm.
um Gotta leave that as light, even though
I,
it's
I think that's fair. Sabine?
I think I want to say something about the union as well, because after this action movie romance and after getting out of prison, I think they tried to lead, once they had the child, they tried to lead a really pedestrian life to protect their child, right? Because of what happened that happened to they knew that there were problems with their heritages, and they really wanted to be like, okay, no, we're just here. We're not we're not rocking the boat. We're just normal people. But yeah, we're so normal.
I love it.
I mean,
And
I
yes,
have an idea, but it's probably out of bounds, right? It's not my turn. But
yeah. Will.
Mm. Escaped from jail together, an action movie romance. What a great, uh, penultimate chapter. Um,
Believe me, is it magic?
I will add to I don't know what to do. The great houses realized that both must were prostates forbidden and they were killed. Um, I'm going to add to uh, to that particular detail that they were killed. The collateral damage was was immense, but uh, they were just lower castes.
Ooh,
There's something about this punishment that the Great Houses unleashed. The way it went about, whatever, right? It ended up leading to the deaths of many, many other people. But why would the High House care? They're just a lower caste.
nice. Sabine, you get to do the legacy here.
I do. Oh, I get to do the leg. I mean, I think we got this all tied up, right? What motivated the hero to stand up against the system, against because I mean, her super normal parents were killed brutally, and then people died, and I think that's where you get, I mean, where everything comes from, but that's what made her say, okay, no, fuck this. Maybe she found the note. I think after her parents were killed, she found their notes. Especially she found Muhterem's notes on all the things that had come together about how things work, and then yeah, okay, and she was like, okay, now I have this, and I'm this, and I'm going to hell. I'm closing the gates, and you can all get bent.
I
She
love it.
probably, yeah, she doesn't curse all of that well. She has a gentle upbringing.
Yeah. Uh, Dana, what were you gonna say here as we finish this out?
oh, my idea was what was actually ties into maybe what Sabine just said. Like maybe Radia found the note and started experimenting herself and got her parents killed, by breaking their cover. But no, it's just like a
Speaking in this new
final,
magical language,
yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of
the
thing.
final tragic cherry on top, right?
I also want it to be that in order to break the gates of hell, she essentially had to rewrite whatever was written over the gate of hell in this new language.
Yeah,
The
hack the
equivalent.
planet.
Yes. Yeah, so that's Union. That's the game. In 4 players, 2 rounds. We got pretty much everybody here on the thing. Uh, so let's do some stars and thoughts about the game. Donna, can I start with you?
Yeah, I will repeat myself every time I play a Ben Robbins game. I feel like, what's going on here in the first round, and then at the end, I am neck deep and loving it. Um, if we had if we hadn't gone down a great path, I was gonna think about like, would we play one of the worlds that we created in this world as the setting for this, like Super Succession or whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, some great surprises, and yeah, like that we get when we are all have a hand in creating this one aspect. We end up in places that we couldn't really predict. So as always, great stuff.
Nice, nice. Sabine?
Oh, I like this. I really like this. This deals with a thing that I don't much like with Microscope itself, where you switch over all over the map and are very. And I like the that you were drilling down on one aspect and everybody could contribute to that, but it was never like okay, and I was going over here and then we were going over there and we're making stuff up. This felt more centered, focused. Felt more focused, and I loved what we were coming up with all these tragic people and occasional uh, genre switch that we had at some of the unions. That was all fantastic. Thank you all for this.
Will?
Yeah, I enjoyed each little section felt like I enjoyed the story of everybody's pairings as they developed. I like the iterative nature of all of these. I think that you move it moves quite quickly for a Ben Robbins game, like
Yeah,
quicker than Microscope often does. I it's not as quick as in this world though, which
right.
is very quick, obviously, to do a full round. I agree. I think so. Like, I really enjoyed the stories that came out of each of them. Um, I think that maybe as a game, it's I wonder what I'd be interested in seeing the difference in playing this with like a dynasty story that's about the dynasty.
Hmm.
Because and I think a lot of the seeds even would suggest that you are playing someone who's descended from all these people, but not that this family per se had like its purpose. You're not looking at the Targaryens or the Starks or whatever, right? You're looking at various pairings that have come together. Whereas if it was more of like a Dallas kind of thing, like that would be an interesting story to tell using this. I loved playing it in the spirit of open conversation, but I probably think it's my least favorite of all of the Microscope uh, variations that we've
Oh,
played.
interesting.
Yeah. That's not a knock against it. I love the rest of them, and I think it would be interesting to see those ones. Like the Super Succession one would have been an interesting one because that would be kind of a story about, rather than
Yeah.
just this world sort of thing.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I like all of them. But I do like the focus on people because that is one thing when we're doing like regular microscope that sometimes you can lose track of. You're just kidding, kind of sometimes events that feel disconnected and they don't all fit together. I do like having that focus on characters. It would be really interesting to do this with the idea that where the hero is, whatever happens there is you'd start then and do a microscope history with that being the sort of the first era, and you play it down the way. And you could even do it where you do in this world to generate an interesting world, play in that world with something like this, and then build a history out from it. There are a bunch of different ways to do that. Uh, yeah, I like it. Um, I don't know if it's my least favorite. Um, I think follow might be the one that I'm still a little iffy on. But I really like In This World. I like this. I like Microscope. I like Kingdom. So really interesting stuff. And I'm looking forward to doing, we've got, what is the other one we're doing? Chronicle is the next one we're doing. So we'll have finally finished them all off. Uh, so thank you all so much for coming along and trying this out with me. If anybody is watching this, as some people sometimes do, I will make sure that I put a link to the Keeper so you can actually see what we've got in that. So I'll make a copy of that. I'm going to stop the recording.